So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast and the final whistle post-match reaction to Aston Villa 0, Newcastle 0. A game whereby we preserved our unbeaten home run, which now spans 365 days and 27 league games, I think. 27 games, I think they said on the broadcast as well. Which I think obviously making Aston Villa a fortress is something that Unai Emery is now tangibly doing, and that's something that we're just hoping that he would do. Look, not a game at all that anybody's going to look back on and say, yeah, we could see our patterns in that game, or we could see a lot of attacking intent, because there just wasn't any there. Was a flat performance, was a performance whereby, you know, that there's a lot to work on. Didn't look like any of our preseason games, essentially. Well, any of the meaningful preseason games. We're talking Marseille, we're talking Villarreal, and Roma. Didn't look like any of those games at all. Even the way that the tempo that we went out to play with. I've got a couple of thoughts on that I'll go through in a moment. Obviously, the sending off was pretty crap. I'm going. It's not going to be popular, but you know, Ezri Konsa is solely responsible for the fact he got sent off there. He's the one who puts hands on Anthony Gordon. We can talk about ifs, buts, and maybes, bad crosses, and whatever you want to do. But lads, Ezri Konsa puts hands on Anthony Gordon, and you know he's going to go down. But what does he do? You know, what can he do in that instance? And I know people will say, well, that's the correlation and causation and all that. That's an argument you guys can have amongst yourselves. Which is fine. I'm okay with you guys having that one in the comments, but the red card was pretty poor. I think all around it was pretty poor, and we'll be missing Ezri Konsa now for the next game. But what I want to say as well is that I suppose the two kind of positives after that, I think, because Ezri Konsa sent off in the 66th minute, is that Boubacar Kamara stepped in at centre half, and I thought looked really good at centre half, as in positionally, and we looked pretty solid, even going down to 10 men. We actually looked like we were willing to, like we tried to get the ball forward a small bit quicker as well when we went down to 10 men. And I think that the big standout from an Aston Villa point of view was, and look, it's harsh to say it because we don't know what would have happened if Robin Olsen was in goals, but the quality of our sub-goalkeeper or standing goalkeeper or second-choice goalkeeper or whatever Marcus Bizot wants to refer to him as, has increased immeasurably. In that first half, he was really solid. There was two instances where I thought that he did exceptionally well, and I'm not quite so sure that Robin Olsen would have been able to do what he did. And it's not the Anthony Elanga shot. I think the Anthony Elanga shot was pretty much at him. I would have expected him to save it where it was. But the Anthony Gordon shot that clips off Matty Cash, that's not as straightforward, that save, as most. And also I thought that he was just pretty good at, he was just pretty good at like, just was solid, you know, like there was balls that came across his body. He was comfortable enough to kick with his left foot. We know Robin Olsen, was not the best with his feet. I'm not saying Bizot was absolutely brilliant with his feet, but you know, he was able to kick the ball. One or two did go astray, obviously. Same thing would have happened with Emi Martinez. So I think he was a real positive in that. And look, if people want to point towards cups or cup runs and stuff like that, we know that Emi Martinez, or there's Unai Emery wants to play a second choice goalkeeper, the second choice goalkeeper in those cup competitions. So if you think that Robin Olsen, which you know I think is a pretty fair cop, you think that Robin Olsen maybe didn't instill confidence, I think Marco Bizot today in his first performance, albeit one performance under his belt, one competitive performance under his belt, surely should instill confidence, I think, in this Aston Villa team. But look, flatness from the start, flatness towards the finish. Yeah, do you know what? I've got somebody coming on here to help me talk about this because I only get rambly as well. And I want to welcome in Mark Holmes, aka Spud from the Villa Pride Down Under podcast. He's coming in today to give me to help me talk about that because, and Spud, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what time it is down in Australia, but do you feel happy you stayed up to watch that match? Because Villa didn't do a whole pile.
That's not too bad. It's an early kickoff here, so it's only 9:30. So we usually don't even have a kickoff. By now, I'd be usually sitting around twiddling my thumbs for another 2 hours before a kickoff. So I'm happy enough.
Yeah. So talk to me about it. Look, it's a hard look. The game is just, it was mired in mediocrity. I think from Aston Villa point of view, passing was poor, spacing between midfield and defense was absolutely shocking all game. And I've got thoughts on that which I'll get into in a moment. But yeah, what's your overarching thoughts on that game? Lucky to come out of it with a draw and keep our home winning run intact, our home non-losing run intact.
Like at halftime, like I was like, right, this is probably going to be a meltdown on social media, so I'm not going near that because I actually personally wasn't too overly concerned at halftime. I was like, right, they're creating chances, but they didn't look clinical on Newcastle. I think apart from maybe Gordon's header and that really early chance that Elanga had, even though I think they had created 8 or 9 chances, they genuinely didn't look like taking them. So I wasn't overly concerned. And I don't know what stream you were watching, Neil, but on over here on Stan, they kept doing an aerial shot of Newcastle set up, and it was like you could see perfectly the 4-5-1. And at half time, I actually said to Tess and Ryan on a group chat there, I was like, I'm not concerned at all. Lads saying it's a hard watch, and I was like, there's an easy solution to the Newcastle setup. I think that we have the options on the bench to do so, but the wit is the way around this, because I think we can change things tactically, but I don't think Newcastle can, because they're away from home. I don't think they have too much on the bench. They can't break up that tight knit midfield tree. So I think if Emery can make a few tweaks and play around that middle tree, which was a good setup, no in fairness to them, I just don't think that Howe had the tools away from home to counteract if Emery changes the tactical setup, So I genuinely wasn't too concerned. I was fairly sure we'd go on and win the game, if I'm honest. But I expected to see Malen and Maatsen pretty early, maybe around 55th minute. Obviously, the cons of red card changed that, but the only thing that was really concerning me in the first half was our ball retention. But even at that, I just didn't feel that we were forcing it. I genuinely thought I felt it was part of the game plan, just to kind of keep the game tight. Emery probably felt Newcastle had come at us, get into half time, and then I just expected 10 minutes into it, the whole system to change. And to be fair, it kind of did for the first 10 minutes after half time. We had a right goal. I thought, sorry.
No, I agree with everything you said there. I was the same at halftime. I was kind of weirdly saying, I'm going to go into a little story, a complete tangential story. So this has nothing got to do with Philip. At halftime, I had to do a small bit of cleaning of something. Let's just say there was a tiny little bit of an infestation somewhere in our garden. Okay, I won't get into the. But sometimes when you leave raw meat in a food bin and there's been hot weather and stuff like that, I won't get into it. So I decided these guys need to go and these guys need to die. So
nothing the boiling water couldn't sort out.
Well, I know that now, but I opened up the cupboard underneath the sink and I went to it for a concoction of things. And when I put them in there,
chemical warfare.
I inadvertently created chlorine gas, tear gas essentially. So I was for the whole lot of half time. Now I was obviously not too much, but as I saw the gas coming up, I went, crap, should have Googled this before I started doing it. But I wanted to nuke them in their wherever they were, in their status, should I say. So anyway, I felt like I was in a World War I battlefield there for half the first 5 minutes of the second half. But like you getting into going in at halftime, I was strangely fine. I was there, right, look, we have been poor. We weathered the storm, especially the Elanga shot, the Anthony Gordon header, which I thought was hilarious. McCoy's was there. Oh, Gordon should do better with that header. I extensively searched, and now I could be wrong on this when I say extensively searched. It took maybe about 5 minutes doing it. Anthony Gordon's never scored a header, so the internet tells me. So I don't know whether he should with that headed chance. But we were poor. And the reason I think we were poor was, I think there's serious reconsideration, and I know it's only one game, and I'm not going to jump to conclusions, obviously, here because of the way that Newcastle play. But I think we would have been much better served with Tielemans beside Boubacar Kamara because of the sameness of Kamara and Onana in that first half. I thought Onana actually did pretty okay. I thought he got his foot in the ball. When he went to pass it, I thought he was poor. I was really poor passing the ball. And I thought we missed that Tielemans turn and pass to kind of get us away quickly. We couldn't get out of our own half. From a defensive point of view, Kamara and Onana were fine, I think, but like from a distribution point of view, every time Kamara got it, he was looking to his left, he was looking to his right, and he didn't have an option in McGinn or Onana, because when he gave it to them, they were guilty of giving the ball away all the time, or majority of the time. Saying that as well, Morgan Rogers was clearly not fit today. I've seen very few worse performances. He felt like he was running in mud, and his passes were way. There was like lead in his boots. His passes were way over.
Very rusty as well, yeah.
Yeah, he was really, really rusty, and I'm surprised he played the full 90. I think there's an argument to take him off, and no, look, he got back and he was stuffing space and stuff and passing runs and running lanes and stuff like that. But from an attacking point of view, he stood in the ball a couple of times, couldn't get anything going, and I just wonder in that, like, the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game, or maybe 10 minutes of the game, we got a few breakaway chances and they all stopped at him. So anyway, that's ifs and buts, and that's hindsight stuff there as well.
I have to be honest with you, Neil. I was hoping that it would be Onana and Kamara with Tielemans in the 10, because in April it works so well. It's been a problem for a lot of teams what to do with Tonali. I mean, he was very good there the second half of last season, and I think Emery found a way with Kamara and Onana, and then getting Tielemans to drop in as the 10 and pick Tonali up. I think the big difference today was our ball retention in the middle. Where, like, if you watch the two games, like if you watch back that game in April, it worked a treat. But obviously, it's after giving Eddie Howe. It's obviously gave Eddie Howe a few tools, because he'd know we obviously caught him by surprise in April. But he had something to work with this time, but that's no excuse for the ball retention. But I had no problem with that for this game personally. I don't think it should be every game, but I can understand why, because they are so good in midfield, Bruno, Joe Linton and Tonali. Sometimes I just don't think you can have two in against them. And we've had Kamara and Tielemans in against them previously, and they've struggled.
I agree 100%. What I'm saying is, I would nearly have put Onana into the, like I said it beforehand, because I just have this fascination with wanting to see what he can do up there, if he could just be if he can be a nuisance. But the problem for Kamara wasn't, like, and as I say, the ball retention solely I think comes down to Onana and McGinn. I haven't looked at the stats, but they looked like they couldn't pass a ball in the first half because they were under a ton of pressure. Livramento was excellent, I thought, today. I thought he was really, really good today. And I thought Onana, Sandro Tonali annoyed me today. Fantastic footballer, annoyed me today, but he's one of these fellas that, like, he was just an annoyance. Like, every single time one of our players got him, he just leaned on them. Like one of these, like, it wasn't a push, it wasn't anything, it was just a constant, like he treated our players like a bar, like the side of a bar. Just had his elbow on their shoulder all the time, pushing down on them. They were going down, we were going down, we weren't getting frees for it and stuff like that. And that annoys me. Dan Burn as well, just like, I don't know, I don't know what to make of Dan Burn. I really don't.
He's so awkward. Like, he gets the benefit of the doubt with the referee every time. He looks so dangly and stuff. I just don't think half of them were frees. And that's
good player. Don't get me wrong. Good player. I just don't know what to make of him. I just don't.
Yeah. Like, McGinn looked like he started well too, and I thought, like, he had a good little early battle with Livramento, and I thought, he's in the mood here. But I don't know. Just none of them were able to get their foot in the ball. Maybe without Pau Torres, we weren't picking up Kamara because there isn't much space in the midfield, maybe. But look, as you say, ifs and buts. But look, the one thing I will say, and like, people might want to hear this, like, but I don't read into this. Like, I actually thought we would win the game today, but I didn't think for a minute that we were going to turn up and steamroll Newcastle because one player was out. I'd rather reading into that. Newcastle won a trophy last year. They're in the Champions League this year. They're a good side, and I don't, like, over 38 games, a 0-0 draw against Newcastle is not a bad point. We've lost 5-1 to them in the opening day before we went to the top four. Yeah, there was caveats around it, and we didn't play well, and Newcastle are in a bad run, but it's not a bad point. And to be honest with you, Emery or Howe probably won't admit it, but both of them would have gladly taken a point today. I genuinely believe that. Like, they didn't come for a point, but they'll take a point.
Absolutely, 100%. I think, like, and you have to kind of hindsight as 2020 when you're looking back at these games, and like, for what happened, like Villa going down to 10 men, being that poor. The way the game panned out, a point was good. The way that we got the point was not good. That's two different things. The result is a positive.
Both things can be correct.
Exactly. Yeah. But we played so poorly, we didn't expect that, and we wanted more than a point. So both things are correct, as you say. Yeah. Look, we it's the first game of the season. It's the first, and I know the first game of the season should be when you come out full of piss and vinegar, and you're trying to, and not heartbreak and vinegar like I threw into my food bin, and nearly killed myself with. But you should be coming out full of effervescence, I think, really, and that's the disappointing thing here. We can talk about a red card or whatever. He's only gone for one game, is my understanding. Don't think McGinn was injured. I think he was probably coming off anyway to give us some sort of an outlet there. Yeah. But he did get a knee into the back. Maybe that was it. But like I would imagine a knee in the back isn't going to keep him out for too long if it is an injury. But the overarching thing here is that the paralysis by analysis that may go into this game is just Villa just weren't very good. There was not a high tempo in it, and it stemmed from just the ball retention, as you said in the first half. 20 minutes into the second half, we lose Ezri Konsa just as we were building up ahead of steam. And that's the story of the game from an Aston Villa point of view. It really is. Me and
you have had conversations previously now, Neil, and I remember them distinctly, and we both agreed heavily. One of the big issues we had a few years ago was that when we weren't playing well, we lost the games. As in, you used to always say it yourself: if you can't win the game, don't lose it. And that's one thing I think we've improved on massively over the last season anyway. But like that's a game there. Like I texted Ryan and Tess in the group chat. I was saying, as soon as the red card came, I said we can't have a typical collapse like we do against Newcastle and Spurs when we've got red cards in the past, because it's happened far too many times. And I just didn't think we looked like that collapse. So it kind of solidified us, if anything. So like Newcastle didn't really offer much after we went down to 10 men either. It was. I like Matty Cash, but that ball has to be better in the build up for that. It has to be. That's the reality. It has to be better, and it's instinctive. I still don't think Konsa needed to do what he did. No, but it is instinctive as a centre half. But I don't think Anthony Gordon. He's got pace, but I know he's only in that moment. He can't think, "Oh, this is Anthony Gordon. He's quick. He's not a great finisher." Blah blah. And I can do that on the couch watching 4 replays. But it was silly. It was silly because there was 2 of them chasing him, Konsa and Mings, and I don't know, maybe I don't want to be the one to say it, but if it's Isak 1-on-1, maybe you panic a small, but I just think it was a bit of panic, and it was probably something instinctive, and I think he'll walk off worrying about that himself,
If we're 1-0 down, I'm saying that's a stupid red card from Konsa. What's he doing? There was potentially a covering man. I'm not saying that he would have got there, but he's so much work to do. Because it's 0-0, I'm probably going, maybe he needed to foul him. Maybe now that we got the point. Now that we got the point. Did he save us from a certain goal? And is inadvertently the fact that we're 0-0 because Konsa brought down Anthony Gordon. So look, perception.
And then we're sitting here saying, why didn't Konsa take him down if we lose 1-0?
Exactly.
Why didn't Konsa take a card?
Yeah, exactly. So look, I think, but if Konsa, even if we lose 1-0 and Konsa does get sent off for that, so what I'm saying here is that, again, 5 things can be right. Because it's all perception, and but the reality is we drew 0-0 here today. Also, the reality here is that Unai Emery's going to he's not going to be happy with that performance. We know that he's a cranky man in post-match stuff, in post-match analysis with regards to the game. There's very you might be able to talk about some of the structural pieces that they had from the full backs up to John McGinn at times. Central structure was poor. I think that's fair enough to say. Spacing between midfield was too far back at times. I don't think that they pushed us that far back. They wanted to get a run on us. So the counteract to this is they wanted to get a run on us, so maybe we stayed too far back. I don't think so. I think we went far back, and we did further far back, and we didn't need to. Now that's 100% open to argument. I can I'm not going to stand on a hill and die over that one. But I think for me, the big thing was I would nearly have preferred to have played 3-8 as opposed to have played 2 6s and a 10, because what happened was Tielemans came back. Tielemans was either too far forward or too far back, and it's not his problem. But what I mean by that is, for what he's absolutely brilliant at, and it's that deft weight of pass. A weight of pass was chronic. We couldn't get him on the ball. We couldn't get him on the ball in the first half, and the weight of pass was absolutely chronic for us. Like our pass success rate was 73% over the course of the game. Let me just check actually here. Let me open up who scored and see. And like, I'm talking here. I'm not saying Onana had a bad game. Don't get me wrong. Like I see who scored of him here, 7.3. And he's the highest rated Aston Villa player. Or after Bizot, he's the highest rated Aston Villa player. Now I don't buy into the algorithmic scoring systems of a lot of these things, but like Tielemans had how many passes today? Tielemans' pass success rate was 74% today. 74%. And does
it say how many passes he attempted?
I will get that. I'll go into the chalkboard here.
Well, you're scooting through that there, Neil. I just wanted to ask you something tactically yourself. Why do you think there was a lack of substitutes, or even before and then after the red card? Why was he so reluctant to change?
That I don't. He's on the TV here now in front of me. That I don't know. I asked that question as well, and I think the sending off didn't affect our structure, because all we did was we just took that central 10, which wasn't working for us anyway, out of the equation. And it's still like, to be honest with you, we didn't miss it. It's not that we didn't miss Tielemans, we didn't miss having that central 10 because we weren't being allowed to play through it anyway. Just to answer your question, Tielemans had 20 passes in the game. 20 passes, the whole game. And
that's a high number for his low percentage, as in, like, if he usually makes 20 passes, he's hitting 89-90%.
Of course. Yeah. And if he's back in that sixth position, he's usually making, like, to give you an example here, Onana made 43 passes. Kamara, I'd prefer to have Tielemans making 43 passes, because now I'm trying to figure out now what Onana's Onana's pass success rate was 81%, and there's me saying that he gave the ball. But
do you think as well, though,
the perception versus the reality, I think here is important as well. This is a good.
Do you think that comes down to the 10 and the 8, though? Because a lot of the time, if you're playing that 8 and you have Kamara next to you, you're playing a 5-yard pass to Kamara, whereas Tielemans isn't playing a 5-yard pass to Kamara when he's 10. That's every pass is 7 or 8 yards, maybe.
That's and exactly. I think so. Well, look, it's this is what I'm saying. Like, I hadn't looked up any of the statistics or anything like that. I'm going to flick through them here. But like, the perception in the first half was Onana wasn't getting the ball to where it needed to be. But obviously he's 81% pass success rate. Still not good enough for that position either. I don't think I would like it to be closer to 90, because you need that metronome. Kamara, for example, was 84%. John McGinn 68%. Tielemans was 74%. Sorry, I think I said 61%, 74%. And
no, you did. You said 74, yeah.
Did I? Morgan Rogers was 50%. Morgan Rogers lost the ball 6 times today.
He wasn't great today, was he? He wasn't great at all, was he? There was once or twice he got on the turn, all right, but he just didn't have that takeoff speed he usually does once he made the turn.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
I'm not saying it was the right not to play Malen, right? But when Malen comes on, like, this might have been the right call from the start of this game. But when he came on there, he shows exactly what he can bring. And I really do want to see him start more games this year, because, like, as soon as he got on, he was getting closer to Watkins than Rodgers did for the whole game, like, in the space of 7 or 8 minutes, like, I do want to see more of him. Like.
I'm watching the red card here, and there's, like, the cross is poor. Who's that's chasing back? Kamara doesn't do enough to get back to chase the man who passes at the Gordon. And Mings is that bit far away. Contact is minimal. Gordon goes down. It's just it's a typical Anthony Gordon thing, And Konza argues his case. What's he do going down the tunnel? Oh, nothing. They framed it there as if he was going to draw a boot in the European Cup going down the tunnel. Just the way they had it there on TNT Sports. Yeah, look, it's this. I'm going to. The cross was poor. We're not shying away from that at all. We're not. And look, before somebody starts fucking DMing me or anyone does, I'm not standing up for Matty Cash. The cross was poor. Okay, the space in midfield is horrible, absolutely horrible there. Like, there is nothing in front of Ezri Konsa to help him. He's a dead man walking, like. But I also think, should he let it go? Should he let the play build up? But then again, as we've also already said, 1-0, and we're giving up.
He's damned if he does. Damned if he doesn't. Like, it's hard to blame him, but
And I think
we
probably,
still will.
A point is probably the result of it. Like they say in the GA, that's a good red card. But I don't know, is it a good red card? It's still frustrating. Anyway. As I said, we got ourselves into paralysis by analysis here from this as well.
It's always better to get a point when you're playing bad than get a point when you're playing well, Neil. So
exactly. I agree with you. I agree. Yeah, look, you mentioned there about the substitutes. Like that's why we've got very little to talk about, Mark. We've very little to talk about because only one substitute came on. So we were talking about the players who started and we're saying, yeah, they were flat. Brought on one substitute. Didn't really change the flatness, albeit I thought that we were finishing a bit strong. We got a couple of breakaways, half chances there. I think Watkins had 2 chances there at the start of the second half. Well, there were tough chances, but he still had them. So the shots kind of tells the story of the game. 16 shots to Newcastle and 3 to Aston Villa.
It's unbelievable that I didn't notice till the start of this game when they were talking about it, the commentary, and they said in the last 12 years at Villa Park, Fabian Schär is the only Newcastle player to have scored. Isn't that absolutely crazy? Incredible. So in 3 Fabian Schär goals and 2 own goals.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
I thought I wouldn't have had my money on that now, to be honest. But that's the.
I didn't know that. I'm trying to think. Is it wrong? Like I'm there. It has to be wrong. I can see if I can.
I was saying to you, Neil, and then I was thinking, he does turn into prime R9 when he plays Villa.
Yeah. And
then the other goals are own goals. In the last 12 years, he's the only player that scored at Villa Park for Newcastle. It's a weird stat to have.
Let me just see if I can find any interesting statistics here. Everyone's pretty even. Like, blah. Oh yeah. Who had the most blocks for Aston Villa today, and what was the number? I knew I would have guessed this person anyway because I can remember 2 distinctly.
I'm going to guess Matty Cash, and I'm going to say 4. 2 were rockets 6. That hit him. 6.
See, I can remember 2, and one of them going, "Oh, that's the VR going to give a penalty for that. I know, and it's going to piss me off." It was one that kind of just hit him right in the gut. 6 blocks. I didn't expect that.
There's 2 very distinctive ones very quickly. The ball wrapping him. He'd one that he'd throw his back into. It kind of winded him. And then, I was thinking it'd be 4. 6, that's fair going, like. I know you're talking about it just before he came in there, Neil, so I kind of missed a bit of it. What was your thoughts about Bizash? Was pretty happy with him?
Very solid. Yeah, I think very solid. I think one of the big things I was saying there was that, the comparison between him and Robin Olsen, 1 game sample set, albeit, but like, the instilling of confidence. Like the shot from Elanga he saves, I think the better save was the clip deflection one that he saved from Anthony Gordon outside the box.
Yes.
I also think as well there was a couple of times where he got to a ball before it went out over the end line and was able to stop it from going out to a corner. There was one from a corner. This was a thing that I have. Emi Martinez is excellent at. When a corner comes in, he is the back post protection. Like the way he gets through a field of people. And there was one corner that came through and Bizak came. And he didn't get through the field of people, but he got his hand up and clawed it back past the back post. And I thought that was really good. At the time, I was wondering, where's he going from here? But he knew what he was doing, gets his hand up and claws it back. And I think it's really important. Austin McPhee, from everything I've seen from Austin McPhee, he needs the goalkeeper to command that back post and be able to get back and get there because it's just been a staple of Emi Martinez's thing. His distribution, there was a couple of ones he pinged in a bit hot and fast. There was one that he one goal kick he kicked out over the line. But he was well comfortable with swinging his left foot at 1 or 2 anyway to get him up the field when needed. And he didn't look like he was massively under pressure when Anthony Gordon was running at him. And there was times when Anthony Gordon got close to him, but he was able to get that ball away. I think he would actually go home and go, I'm a Premier League goalkeeper here. I think he'll obviously be Villa's man of the match. But I think that whatever statistics, whatever advanced goalkeeping metrics come out, I think that he'll grade really, really high in those. I think he can be really happy with his stuff.
And then he'd be wondering what he did to play himself out of the team for the next game.
He's just not a WH award-winning World Cup goalkeeper. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just one of them games, wasn't it, where you just kind of like you can't really get your head around it, but you think, it's a point, shake hands and move on, and just hopefully you look back in the end of the season and it was the beginning of a good undefeated run. The main thing as well is that we keep that undefeated run at Villa Park. It needs to remain, and that we need to keep that going for as long as we can, because the longer that goes on, the more of a psychological advantage you get with teams coming to play.
You concerned? After that was look, I'm asking this in a completely over the top hyperbolic way, like obviously because the first game of the season. But
6 weeks ago, I was very, very concerned. I'm going to be honest with you. And in the last 2 weeks, not really, not so much. Kamara signing the contract was obviously the start of it for me, because I'll be honest with you, I genuinely thought he was going to go this year. I thought Pep would come in from with the hassle they had with Rodri last year, because he is a Pep player, someone that can take the ball in tight spaces, confident. I genuinely thought that's where he was going to go. I think Kamara is what they had hoped Calvin Phillips would be, and never, ever got there for Man City. And I just thought that Kamara would be brought in there. So, because I knew that Nico Martinez was just a kind of a stopgap last year.
Nico
Gonzalez, sorry. Yeah. I don't think he's going to be in a City jersey for too long. Then they obviously signed Tino Reinders
as well. Yeah, cracking player.
Good player. And again, very similar in the mold of Kamara, that he's just confident with the ball in short spaces. So that was genuinely one of my big fears. I genuinely thought Kamara was going to go. So when he signed a new contract, that was the beginning of the positivity for me. Then Gassan came in. And if I've sad to see players leave, but if you'd offered me to start in May last year, or May at the end of the season, pick your player between Ollie, Emi, and Jacob Ramsey to go, I'm going to pick Jacob Ramsey every time. That's my reality. And that's not no slight on Ramsey, but I think you can replace Ramsey, but I don't think we can replace 10 or 12 clean sheets with Martinez, and I don't think you can replace the 25 goal involvements of Watkins almost guarantees you even in a bad season. So with the goals and assists. So for me, my positivity changed that. Donyell obviously signed a new contract. I still think we'll get one or two more in the door, and I think that squad's plenty good enough to win the Europa League. I genuinely do.
Yeah.
And 6 weeks ago I was concerned, but no, I'm not so concerned, to be honest.
No, neither am I. I think if anything, what today kind of highlighted was that, look, when you have McGinn's biggest quality is the work rate you get from him is absolutely incredible.
Sets the tone as well.
Exactly. That's why he's captain. Like he's not captain because he's Zinedine Zidane. He's captain because he's brave arse. You know, he gets around the field. He's an energizer bunny. He's never said die, and he's just your typical. He's just typical kind of dynamo inside there. Like, I think today, if you have the option to bring, and I know, look, I'm only picking these two guys out. Look, everybody can argue about who we want to sign. We'll sign who we sign, and we won't sign, and we won't sign. But let's say you've got a Trossard you can bring on left wing for Rodgers, and you've got an Asensio that can come on in there. Maybe you can take out an Onana or Kamara, or whatever you wanted to do in that game, and move Tielemans back, or even just take Tielemans out. You know, those options, we didn't have them today. And I don't think that Unai Emery, I don't think it was the game to bring in Emi Buendia, because I think that it was just too strong. The midfield was too strong, and Dan Burn was coming out of defence and he was clattering people. Like, you know, he was clattering.
He'll get a red card in a game like that Buendia, because Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes would have wind him up something rotten. You needed experience. You need experience in there today. I thought it was the right call as well. And
what we'll have is Sel Buendia. He's no good, you know, after the game. And look, it's not the game for him, and there's horses for courses, and that wasn't the course for him. I don't think it was the game for Maatsen either. You know, I said it during the game. I said this could, like, you bring on Maatsen for pace, but you're bringing him on in front of Donyell, not instead of Donyell. And I think that
second half, though, I thought he could have come on personally, but I think it was the right call to start Donyell. Yeah.
I think Jacob Murphy or Elanga actually goes to town on him from a defensive positioning point of view at times there in that first half if he starts there. Sorry.
No, that's what I'm saying. I thought Donyell should have started. I thought it was the right call, but I thought as the game went on, we were crying out for a bit of wit, and I thought Maatsen should have been brought on in the second half personally. Obviously, when the red card came, it ended up being the right call. But
yeah, absolutely. I would have brought him on instead of Rodgers even. Still. I would have brought him on there, put him in there, and just had that and said, right, let's invite them in and kick it long and see how fast you can run in. You know, test them hamstrings first game of the season. Just test them and run as fast as you can. Make it a straight out foot rest, like they did to us for the Anthony Gordon goal. That's literally all they did. They played a ball into an area, backed Anthony Gordon to win the ball. And this is the thing, you know, before the game, I was making the case of, you know, how you can play without pace. I wasn't making the case that we shouldn't have pace in the team or that it's okay not to have pace. I said before, speed kills. And that's today you saw that the reason we get a red card is because they got speed. We were never really enticing anybody into a red card, although at half time I did back Joe Linton to get sent off. I don't know why I had it in the back of my head. But
I had him to get a yellow from the start. He's just a banker for a yellow every week. Yeah. It's great. I was going to say to you there, Neil, just with Morgan Rogers, obviously he probably had what would we say in the 80% of a pre-season. So until his injury, he was probably where he needed to be. Do you think that with 90 minutes was to get those couple of games he missed and just try and get up to speed a bit quicker?
Yeah,
is that why he played 90?
That's exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. So like, so like when I say I would have taken him off, the only reason, like, I would have taken him off if I was a manager that was gone down to 10 men that was like going, right, let's go win this game at all costs.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah. And there's pragmatism there. There's 38 games of the season. Well, you can't.
I was just going to say, if this was April, it might have been different. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. If this was April, it might have been different. But yeah, look, he'll come good. You know, he will. Yeah, I'm trying to think. There was something else I was going to bring up there as well, and I can't remember what it was. Maybe it could have been just me looking up Nico Gonzalez to see was Gonzalez his actual surname. That could have just been it as well, because I was to second guessing myself. I'm 90% certain it is Nico Gonzalez. Yeah, look, I to be honest with you, I think Eddie Howe will be going back on the bus, going, yeah, look, happy enough for the point with taking that beforehand, given the tumultuous kind of off season they've had. Unai Emery is going back, going, damn, we've got a red card, but I suppose after the red card, I'm happy we have a point. I think Unai Emery is definitely the more upset of the two managers, and he should be for a multitude of reasons. But I think that I'm kind of in a way I prefer him to be upset and for us to have drawn a game that we clearly could have lost, than to be happy and for us to have drawn a game that we clearly could have lost. But I don't imagine that he will be, and I can imagine that the analysis will not especially the shape work and the spacing will not fare out very well for pretty much any of the midfield in the first half. And I think we will see not a different midfield setup as in from a personnel point of view, but I think we'll see definitely a different midfield setup from a zoning point of view as well. Against Brentford. We've Brentford next, don't we?
Brentford away next. And I just watched you touching off about Newcastle and Villa there, the managers. I think Emery will walk away thinking we've more to work on than I thought, and Howe will walk away from thinking I'm not as far away as I thought. You know, like, so that's what I think will be the running for that, because who knows? Emery. I also think Villa Park is a hard place to come to, you know.
I also think Eddie Howe will go away, and he would have said this before the game as well, but he's going to go away and go, squad needs to be a hell of a lot better than it is to
I need a centre forward.
I would say he'll go, I need two. Anthony Gordon isn't one.
No, he doesn't look like even his movement. It's not the movement, and I know it's easy to pick on him when he's not a centre forward, but like he didn't even look like a centre forward. The movement, did he? Like, you know,
I thought he was good today. Like, yeah, but it's just not. He wasn't a number 9 like today. You know. Yeah.
But he's a good player. He's a good player. Like, and they have very good options in the wit. Even like Jacob Murphy, Langa, they're a good side. They're a good side, and that midfield three would match up against any team in the league. And
absolutely.
But like, it's one of those games, though. Even though we were poor, like I'm not down about it. I just think it's. I've felt worse after a lot of games in the past, like, you know.
Put it this way, it's nowhere near approaching the drubbing we got when Tyrone Mings getting injured in the first day of the season in a couple of years ago. So, you know, we have to take solace in that, albeit the red card is going to test our defensive options anyway. Listen, Spud, I'm going to let you go because you're it's probably bedtime for you. And is it bedtime for you? Yeah, it is.
No, I might watch one more game, but then be bedtime. Watch one more game and then regret it in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've got an invasion of children coming in the door.
Hello.
And you move out of the way there. I'll be out to you in 2 seconds. So anyway, listen, we're going to leave it at that. Villa 0, Newcastle 0. Not one for the purists, or one for the purists, should I say, or maybe not even one for the purists. But we'll be back anyway. I suppose probably tomorrow. I'll jump on with something. I've got something in the hopper for that, and then the game's becoming thick and fast now, so we'll be back at team sheet tantrums, etc., etc. So, Mark, listen, thanks a million for your time today. Really, really appreciate it. Go follow the Villa Pride Down Under podcast as well. Mark is doing great stuff. He had an interview with Peter Witt on there recently as well. So go check that out. And I love some of the questions you asked him there as well. My daughter has been caught from behind me here. But yeah, listen, go watch that. And in the meantime, everyone will be back with many, many more podcasts. As there's a bit of a BBC. Do you know that BBC clip where your man is trying to get the kids out of the room when he's being interviewed by BBC, and it's just you like to look yourself. You do.
This is the sequel to it.
This is the sequel to it. Exactly. This is the sequel to it. Right, once again, Mark, thanks a million for your time. And
absolute pleasure, Neil. Thanks very much, man. And we'll chat to you again soon, mate. All right.
Absolutely. Care. Excellent. Right. So thanks very much, everybody, for watching and for listening. We will chat to you again very, very soon. Stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.